To begin, I'd like to ask you to set your screens to speaker view and make sure you stay on mute. Please keep your video cameras on, but if the Zoom feed becomes choppy at any point today, we may ask you to turn off your video cameras at that time. This promises to be a great morning as we hear from our keynote speaker, Reverend DeForest Buster Soares, as well as our New Jersey Commissioner, New Jersey Department of Education, Dr. Angelica Allen McMillan. We will honor and celebrate the NJPSA Visionary Award winners and the NJASCD Dr. Ernest L. Boyer Outstanding Educator. As if that weren't enough, we will be entertained by some of New Jersey's finest performers from two of the schools led by our Visionary Award winners. You will also soon hear about a new initiative we will be starting in January called Mastermind Groups, a peer community specifically designed to support and enhance the work of mid-career educational leaders. We also have a number of outstanding prizes to give away at various times of the conference, but you must be on Zoom in order to win the prize. So please stay with us through the day. Do not forget, we are planning to be back in person to celebrate our 40th anniversary at the Borgata in Atlantic City on March 24th and 25th. Yes, you heard that right, in person at the Borgata, 24th and 25th, where there will we enjoy keynote speakers, Zaretta Hammond and George Kuros, a legislative component that would usually be conducted during the March Legislative Conference at NJPSA, as well as several professional learning workshops. You can still apply to present at a workshop at the conference. Again, you can still apply to present at the workshop, so please download the application from the website and email the form back to us by the November 15th deadline. Remember that a 2-day registration also includes a 3-night overnight stay at the Borgata on Thursday. Right now, I'd like to ask Rob from our tech department to share his screen and show the American flag. And I'd ask all of you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I'd ask you to please remain standing as we listen to a recording of the Essex County Donald Payne Senior School of Technology Senior Vocal Ensemble singing the Star Spangled Banner.
Stripes and
Thank you. That was great. And thank you especially to the students of Essex County Donald Payne Senior School of Technology and the music and entertainment production instructor, Mark Beckett. That was truly wonderful, and we appreciate that. To all my friends and colleagues joining us today, I cannot tell you how delighted I am that you are here to honor and celebrate the most outstanding examples of leadership, resilience, adaptability, toughness, and grace, as shown by you, the members of the New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association. We are so proud of you and what you are doing for the students of New Jersey. I am joined on the Zoom this morning by a distinguished group of individuals who work hard to support all our organizations. They include NJPSA Board of Directors, Dr. Arlene Rogo, President-elect, Thomas McNagno, Vice President, and Dr. Robin Moore, immediate past President. We would also like to recognize all of the NJPSA, FEA, and NJASCD board members who are with us today. In addition, we welcome Ann Mucci, Executive Director of NJASCD, Natalie Franzi Doherty, President of NJASCD, and we welcome and thank NJPSA Executive Director Emerita Pat Wright. We would also like to welcome and thank the leaders of some other educational organizations who are with us today. Robert Acera, Director of Member and Board Services, NJPTA. Rose Acera, Board Member at Large, NJPTA. Mary Adair, Retired Executive Director of NJASCD. And Dr. Ned Johnson, New Jersey State Board of Education member and faculty member in the Rowan University College of Education. At this time, if you'd like to tweet through today's events, we would ask that you please tag us at NJPSA and at NJASCD and use the hashtag NJPSA Reimagine. You can also use the chat feature right here in Zoom. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association, Karen Binger. Karen?
Thank you, Mike, and welcome everyone. I cannot thank you enough for the unbelievable and amazing job that you've been doing throughout this pandemic to keep the learning moving forward and to take care of the social emotional needs of your students and your staff members. As the new Executive Director of NJPSA, I am frankly humbled, deeply honored, and still a little stunned that I have the honor of representing you. Your dedication to the students of New Jersey has never been more evident. You have had such a powerful impact, not only on your students in your schools, but you've made a difference each and every day in the communities that you serve, as you've worked collaboratively to fight this pandemic and to continue to move forward, to lead, to learn, and to grow. In your capable and loving hands, your students and staff members have been able to do the same. I want to thank every one of our more than 8,000 members, our wonderful supervisors, directors, assistant principals, vice principals, principals, assistant superintendents, counselors, and so many other roles in educational administration. I specifically want to mention and thank our principals, as October is National Principals Month. We honor you, we are grateful for you, we are impressed by you, and we celebrate you. As a special gift for taking the time to be with us today, everyone who registered for today's conference and joined us on the Zoom call will receive a $5 gift card to everyone's favorite, Wawa. So keep an eye out for an email from Wawa eGift Cards, where you can download your e-card and enjoy a shorty sandwich, a couple of coffees, some sodas, a candy bar, or whatever you would prefer at your local Wawa on us. This is a wonderful opportunity for all of us to get together and celebrate what we have achieved and to be inspired to reach even greater heights. Today is a celebration for our staff as well. I want to publicly acknowledge the dedication of the NJPSA FEA staff for their tremendous efforts in bringing together not only this conference, but for all of the services they provide to you every day, from professional learning to school leadership programs, to communications, to legal services, to government relations and advocacy. We have such a tremendous team of professionals here at NJPSA and FEA, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank them for their outstanding work. I also have to add, as the new executive director, I would also like to thank each of them personally for taking me under their individual and collective wings as I settle into this new role, training me about the association and leading me to deeper understandings of the many, many nuanced things they do to support our members. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Today, our theme is reimagine. Think about how much possibility this word holds. Although I know we are all tired of talking about the pandemic, frankly, think back to how much we are reimagined when it first shut us down, and how much of the what if and do you think we could, which was completely out of the box thinking, actually became a reality. We reimagined education there and then, with no lengthy planning, no exhausting meetings that end without a direction. We didn't have that luxury. Instead, we reimagined, redid, revised, responded, and rewrote the course of education. And we did it in no time flat. Imagine what else we could do if we continued to reimagine education. Although, frankly, let's go with a much smaller scale this time, shall we? If we continued to reimagine education just in our own schools, imagine what we could do. You're doing it now with your lunches, your schedules, your internal protocols, and your efforts to help students learn and succeed on the heels of the impact the past year and a half has had on them. Our keynote today is going to talk to you more about building your school's direction, which I hope you will find both celebratory of what you are doing and motivating for all that you have ahead of you. Perhaps the most striking thing about committing your life to education is a word that pairs beautifully with reimagine. And that word is hope, because we have eternal, unwavering, and enthusiastic hope for our students and their futures. And because of that, we spend a little bit of every day reimagining education until we land on the direction that makes the biggest difference in the world to the children around us. That, my friends, is not a bad way to spend your life. Thank you for all you do. And now, for a brief update on professional learning, I'm honored to introduce Dr. Donna McInerney, CEO of FEA.
Thank you, Karen, and good morning, everyone. I am so happy to see so many of you with us for our 2021 virtual conference. And I know that as the morning goes by, we'll have others joining in. I want to take a moment to congratulate today's Visionary Award winners. They are truly shining examples of the leadership that makes New Jersey schools the #1 in the country. So thank you to our award winners and to all of you for your dedication, energy, and commitment to excellence. I know that you've received our electronic professional learning catalog and you receive our daily emails about the professional learning opportunities that we offer. Since the pandemic launched, we've used multiple platforms and we'll continue to do that to support you. We know how difficult it is right now to dedicate time to professional learning, but we also know that it's never been more important to do so. So make sure to stay ahead of the new professional learning opportunities and take care of your own professional learning needs. We realize that you keep a very close eye on the professional learning for your teachers. Keep an eye on your own as well. And if you cannot make it to a specific session, we also have asynchronous video learning available in our online learning suite and a lot of other learning opportunities. Earlier, Mike shared with you the exciting news that we will be in person at the Borgata in Atlantic City for our next conference in March. While we're there, we'll celebrate NJPSA's 40th anniversary, and we are all looking forward to being able to see you in person, to build that face-to-face community that we've so enjoyed for so many years. So I want to share with you a sneak preview. I'm going to ask Rob to share his screen about the upcoming conference in March. Thanks, Rob. And as always, there's a free hotel room with a 2-day registration, and registration will be open early next week. So please keep an eye out for that. At NJPSA and FEA, supporting you, our school and district leaders at every stage of your career, from the beginning leadership all the way to the retirement services. This drives all of the work we do. Nowadays, though, you are wearing hats that you never envisioned, and you're taking on responsibilities you never imagined. And in light of this, we are excited to announce the launch of a new program called Mastermind Groups that are designed exclusively for mid-career leaders. Mike mentioned this earlier. A mastermind group is a small group of no more than 15 to 20 participants that meet regularly as a community to address emerging and critical issues and to explore problems through the use of protocols, book discussions, presentations. And the goal is to engage in authentic professional learning that is relevant to you and timely, while creating a supportive network for each other. Groups will meet 90 minutes twice a month and typically will be out of school hours, and they'll be facilitated by an experienced mastermind colleague. If you're interested in expanding your leadership skills and deepening your knowledge, keep an eye out for this. The cohorts will launch in January, and more information will be coming to you in the next few weeks. I also want you to keep in mind that as premier organization, private school, and now for the first time, aspiring leader members, you are eligible for one free professional learning session per year through our Star Advantage program. So please remember to take advantage of the Star Advantage. And speaking of free, of course, there is only one reason we could provide this conference to all of you free of charge, and that is the overwhelming generosity of our two wonderful sponsors. I'd like to ask our Assistant Executive Director, Denise Hechtberger, to say a few words about them. Denise?
Thank you, Donna. Thank you all. And thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors who have made this day possible, Lexia Learning and Grapeseed. As a token of our gratitude, today's sponsors have received an appreciation plaque along with our collective gratitude for your support and friendship. And we can see the plaque. And at this time, I'd like to ask Tanya Liddy of Lexia Learning to tell us a little bit about their company.
Thank you, Denise, and thank you, everyone. Good morning. My name is Tanya Liddy from Lexia Learning, and with my colleague, Suzanne Milando, I am honored to serve administrators and educators like yourselves across New Jersey. Thank you to NJPSA for allowing us to co-sponsor today's event themed Reimagine. Thank you for reimagining everything from how students eat lunch, how to facilitate cooperative learning, how to take kids on virtual field trips, and how to communicate with and engage families. And today we're reimagining October weather here in Jersey. Robert, I think there's a slide that comes up, and just because I have my email at the end of it, so sorry. As every one of you has had to, Lexia Learning has also had to reimagine how we can support you, your educators, and your students over the past year plus in literacy and language learning. First and foremost, we became a Cambium Learning Group company this year, forging ahead with a robust portfolio of solutions that provide educators with the tools to intensify and accelerate literacy and language skill development for students of all abilities. This reimagined book bag includes not only Core 5 and Power Up, our adaptive blended learning programs for readers of all abilities, but also Letters and Lexia English. Lexia English is designed specifically to help multilingual learners in grades K to 6+ acquire higher language proficiency levels of English. Aligned to the WIDA standards, it integrates 3 key areas: speaking, listening, and grammar, while emphasizing the language of content in several subject areas so that students gain both language skills and subject knowledge. Join us next week virtually during Emergent Bilingual Week for an amazing menu of events and presentations with colleagues from across the country to help you support the unique learning needs of the student population. You should have received an email about this event, or you can certainly reach out to me and I can send you a free registration link for your educators who service L students. Letters was also added to our book bag and is a flexible literacy professional learning solution for pre-K to 5 educators grounded in the science of reading and providing research, depth of knowledge, and skills to make significant improvement in the literacy and language development of every student. Lexia Learning is all for literacy. Together, we can reimagine literacy in New Jersey so that through a single focus on literacy and a full spectrum of solutions to support it, we will continue to help more learners across New Jersey read, write, and speak with confidence. Reimagining begins with seizing the opportunities in front of us to think critically, reflect, and build back better. Thank you to NJPSA for providing the opportunity to do so today. It is my pleasure to pass the program back to Denise at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. That was great. And thank you to Lexia Learning and Grapeseed for always being there for us.
And now I am truly delighted to introduce our immediate past president of NJPSA, Dr. Robin Moore. Robin?
Thank you, Mike. And now before I introduce the commissioner, I have the opportunity to do something fun. You know, NJPSA, we love to give away things, and today is no different. So I have the fun task of announcing the first 3 prize winners. Remember, later today, we will be giving away a free Apple TV and a MacBook Air. But right now, we have 2 $100 Visa gift cards and a wireless charger to give away to some very lucky members. The bad part about it, I can't win. My friends in communication staff are making the random selection and will help me with this announcement. So it is my pleasure to introduce the Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Education, Dr. Angelica Allen McMillan. Dr. Allen McMillan began her career in education as a substitute teacher in Essex County and taught in East Orange Public Schools before she launched the Marion P. Thomas Charter School in Newark. She served as an assistant principal and principal in the South Orange Maplewood School District and as an assistant superintendent in both Irvington Public Schools and Newark Public Schools. Most recently, she served as New Jersey Department of Education as interim executive county superintendent for Morris County, and we are very pleased to have her with us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to some and present to others, and welcome Dr. Angelica Allen McMillan.
Thank you so very much. Good morning. Yes, I am Dr. Angelica Allen McMillan. I do remain the acting commissioner and hope one day to be appointed as the commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Education. But I'm honored to join you for this year's fall conference. I would like to thank Karen Binger, Executive Director, for hosting today's event. To the principals and supervisors joining the conference, I commend each of you for your continued leadership and perseverance in these ever-changing times. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed. Thank you. I value the partnership and collaboration of the New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association and embrace its members as thought partners. You provide powerful insight into classrooms, which affords the Department of Education relevant information to address immediate and long-term needs. I would like to equally thank you for supporting our efforts to ensure all of New Jersey's students have equitable access to high-quality education and achieve academic excellence. I would like to begin by recognizing the theme of this year's conference, Reimagine. The word reimagine is a resounding theme in the work of the Department of Education. Over the past 19 months, we have been forced to reimagine education, both how it is provided and how it is received. It is as true in your schools and classrooms as at the department. In February 2021, the Department of Education released The Road Forward, a series of initiatives around the theme of engage, recover, and reimagine education in New Jersey. As we recently began the 2021-2022 school year, we are uniquely poised to reimagine this school year. With schools open for full-time in-person instruction, we are engaging, beginning the process of recovery, and using the investments made in education to re-envision what education means and how education is implemented. The initiatives of the Road Forward will continue to provide administrators, staff, and students a safe and healthy learning environment through the 2021-2022 school year. Thank you to those principals and supervisors who contributed to the Road Forward Clearinghouse, a collection of best practices from across the state. If you have not accessed the database, I urge you to use the resource to spur ideas for addressing learning gaps, promoting attendance, removing insecurities, and maximizing the operations of schools. Ongoing and continued collaboration amongst colleagues is essential in maximizing the state's educational impacts. In August 2021, the Department of Education and the Department of Health collaborated to provide updated health and safety guidance for this school year, and together, we will continue to update the guidance as necessary to forward your ability to focus on reimagining education. Continuing our necessary and shared commitment takes massive monetary investments. With the first 2 rounds of federal stimulus funds, the department launched grants to support the purchase of one-to-one instructional and internet connectivity devices, competitive grants to address learning loss, a $75 million learning acceleration grant, and $30 million in mental health grant funding. Next, the Department of Education successfully administered an additional $100 million in coronavirus relief funds to support the targeted reopening of school facilities in 2021-2022, with funds targeted to low-income communities that have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. Further, the Department of Education received $2.7 billion in additional federal funds from the American Rescue Plan. These funds will continue to address priority areas like that of learning acceleration and mental health supports and services, including social emotional learning through September 2024. The Department of Education has worked diligently to distribute funds in a way that recognizes that all students, educators, schools, and districts have been impacted by COVID-19, and that those effects fall disproportionately on certain populations. Inequitable access to opportunity has historically adversely touched specific student subgroups. Consequently, the distribution of this tranche of federal funds reaffirms my commitment to advancing equity. In June 2021, the Department of Education released the Learning Acceleration Guide, which again was accomplished with input from the field. The Learning Acceleration Guide provides a comprehensive framework anchoring academic, social, and behavioral interventions in an ongoing instructional process, by which all educators engage in formative practices to improve students' access to and mastery of grade level standards. Within the Learning Acceleration Guide, we outline 4 principles to influence learning acceleration planning and implementation. Each principle highlights principles in action from one of 15 schools or districts exemplifying the action in the state. The Learning Acceleration Guide also provides strategies for educators to use as they advance equity for all. To that end, summer was an ideal time to continue efforts to accelerate learning. In preparation for this upcoming school year, our Summer Learning Resource Guide provided the tools schools needed to address academic and emotional needs for our students. The Department of Education worked closely with the Council of Chief State School Officers to develop the Summer Learning Resource Guide with the goal of providing information on the impact of COVID-19 on student learning, guiding principles to enable student success, strategies for meeting the social and emotional needs of students and teachers, evidence-based practices for delivering instruction, funding opportunities available to districts, and strategies to maintain communication with families during the summer. Thank you to those who participated in the Summer Learning Survey. Despite the continued focus on implementing enriching academic, social, and emotional school-based programs, approximately 330 schools highlighted the impact of their programs. To continue the advancement of learning efforts apart from traditional learning times, like those exerted during summer learning and after school, I have implemented the Office of Learning, Innovation, and Support in the Department of Education. The Start Strong assessments, introduced as an optional assessment by the Department of Education last school year and enhanced to serve as a formative assessment this school year, provide an opportunity for educators to assess students' needs for subject area supports as they begin the 2021-2022 school year. I am confident that the Start Strong assessment results will help our educators prioritize content and personalized learning for students. In addition to the previously described Road Forward health and safety guidance, monetary investments, and learning acceleration tactics and ideas, highlighting the previous work of the department, I am elated to announce that the Department of Education received a 5-year, $6.1 million state personnel development grant from the United States Department of Education that will expand upon the existing New Jersey tiered system of supports for early reading project. Through the New Jersey tiered system of supports for early reading project, the Department of Education will engage a cohort of district literacy coaches in an intensive coach-to-coach model to enhance the effectiveness of reading, instruction, and interventions available to all students, with a keen attention to the needs of our students with disabilities. Implementing tiered systems of supports in early literacy will improve student literacy from birth to graduation. And early childhood education is the foundation for students as they continue the trajectory of their education. As you know, pre-kindergarten education provides the building blocks students need to accomplish future goals. Governor Murphy's vision for universal pre-kindergarten will provide the opportunity for the state's youngest learners to have access to early childhood education. This will improve outcomes for students from all backgrounds and income levels, helping create a stronger and fairer education system. Not only have we reimagined education, we remain stalwart in continuing to advance educational opportunity, equity, and outcomes. I commit to providing supports to you as educational partners and to our education systems as you and your staff continue to address the needs of your school communities. I recognize and admire, as a former administrator, the strength of your continued leadership, and know that collectively we will continue to engage, recover, and reimagine together, providing the highest quality educational opportunities for those we serve. I look forward to our continued collaboration. I hope that you enjoy the conference, and I hail the National Visionary and NJASCD Award winners who are reimagining leadership in their school districts. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Acting Commissioner, I would like to thank you for your support and for the guidance provided by your department to the NJPSA members, particularly through this pandemic. We know that nothing has been easy since the beginning of the pandemic, and we truly appreciate everything that you have done to provide the guidance we need to make the best decisions for our schools. So with all of our just deepest gratitude, thank you for that support. And now it is time to honor you, the outstanding principals and supervisors of New Jersey, and recognize your colleagues, the 2021 Visionary Leadership Award recipients. To host this part of the program, I'd like to introduce the President-elect of NJPSA, Arlene Rogo. All right, we seem to be having an issue having Arlene log on. So Arlene, if you're here, just jump in and I will stop talking. But in the meantime, I will pick up where Arlene would otherwise be picking up. And so I'm going to just share another wish of good morning to everyone, especially for those who are just joining us. We know people are in and out during the course of the morning because, you know, apparently you have schools to run or something like that. So thanks for joining us when you are able. I am very pleased to present this special part of this event, the annual NJPSA and NJASCD Visionary Awards. I will ask all of you who are not speaking during the awards ceremony to please turn your cameras off and make sure that you stay on mute. This year's award winners truly exemplified leadership and imagination and have been instrumental in maintaining the highest standards for their schools, leading new programs, promoting social, emotional learning, and doing their utmost to prepare all of their students for the future. NJPSA is presenting each award winner with $7,000 to be used in his or her school, plus a $1,000 personal award. In addition, each award winner will be receiving a gift commemorating this event. Herff Jones has generously donated rings that NJPSA award winners have been sent and will proudly wear. We would like to thank them for this gift and for their support of school administrators across our state. FEA has been listed as a strategic partner with this company for the last 7 years. Please join me in thanking Kathy Keith, sales representative from Herff Jones, with a warm round of applause. Please also note that we are accepting nominations for the 2022 Visionary Awards now through October 31st. Information about how to apply is available on the NJPSA website at njpsa.org/awards and has been mailed and emailed to all NJPSA members. Today, we honor the following outstanding educational leaders. Emily Bonilla, NJPSA Visionary Assistant Principal of the Year and NJ recipient of the NASSP Assistant Principal of the Year Award. She is the Vice Principal of the Essex County Donald M. Payne Senior School of Technology, Emily Bonilla. And up next is Kelly Harmon, the NJPSA Visionary Supervisor and Director of the Year. She is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction at Monmouth County Vocational School District, Kelly Harmon. Annie Corley-Hand, NJPSA Visionary Principal of the Year, Elementary Level, and NJ recipient of the NAESP National Distinguished Principal Award. She is the principal of the Mary K. McMillan Early Childhood Center in Berkeley Heights. Congratulations, Annie. Dr. Kwame Morton, NJPSA Visionary Principal of the Year, Secondary Level, and NJ recipient of the NASSP Principal of the Year Award. Congratulations, Kwame. He is the principal of Cherry Hill High School West and now the new assistant superintendent of Cherry Hill Public Schools. And our very own Dr. Mary Reese, the NJASCD, Dr. Ernest L. Boyer Outstanding Educator Award recipient. She is the Director of Special Projects at FEA. We also want to say a very special thank you and welcome to the family, friends, and colleagues of our award winners who are with us this morning on Zoom to share in this special ceremony. We are honored and delighted to have all of you with us today. On behalf of our three organizations, I congratulate all of today's award winners. They have demonstrated outstanding leadership and have initiated for their students a love of learning that will truly last a lifetime. We've prepared a special video for each of this year's winners. At the conclusion of each video, the award winner will provide brief remarks and then the next video will play. Again, congratulations to each of you. Remember, cameras off, mics off, sit back, relax, and enjoy the videos.
The 2021 Visionary Assistant Principal of the Year and New Jersey representative of the NASSP Assistant Principal of the Year Award is Emily Bonilla. Emily Bonilla was named Vice Principal of the Essex County Donald M. Payne Sr. School of Technology after creating and teaching its film study program.
Came with an idea of how it's going to be. So they said, oh, well, we want like a kind of a news. And I said, that's not news. Everyone does news. I was like, what about filmmaking and digital filmmaking? They didn't have a prescribed method. They said they trusted me as a professional, that I really knew what I was doing, and they allowed me to really build. And I would say, even though I came in with a vision over the years, then I added certain things, added different technology, internships, programs, and then we started winning awards.
But Ms. Bonilla was a film and production teacher, and she was also, I liked her energy, and I liked the fact that she was involved in every aspect of the school.
Dr. Peterson then hired Emily to be vice principal, where she takes a very student-centered approach to curriculum and training her teachers.
I can teach you, I can write the lesson plan, I can do all of these things, but if I cannot have the student model it on their own and be fully invested in what they're doing and love what they're doing, it doesn't matter how good of a curriculum or my lesson plan. And this is something that I make sure that when I'm teaching new teachers, is that student choice is such an important part of career technical education, but also in academics.
She is a vice principal who really just sees the passion in you that you don't see in yourself. She helps you understand that you do have the ability to do what you want and to reach your goals. And she's somebody that you really won't find anywhere else. There's nobody like her.
She will say yes to encourage student initiative and student leadership, and also to make the school climate or culture better by virtue of hearing what the students want and what they have to say, and then working with them when it's reasonable and sensible to achieve those goals.
One of her most important accomplishments was tackling the issue of chronic absenteeism.
I felt that it was very punitive. So instead, we kind of removed the discipline action and started really figuring out what is the core problems that are happening. Why are students absent? Why are they late? And as we started kind of actually talking to the students and parents and saying, this is not a problem, we're not trying to get you, we're trying to solve this issue and be working as a team, we started developing that, we started seeing our numbers decrease.
Her baby is attendance, because she does an excellent job as far as keeping track of her attendance, and we've been very successful with the rate currently probably about 95% as far as daily attendance with our students and coming into the building.
My big thing too was, it seems like a waste of time, but I was the first thing that they would see when they were late, and I would have a conversation with them.
So me being me, I was always late. And Ms. Bonilla was the one at the table giving out late passes. And she started to realize, like, why are you always late? Why are you always late? And then she pulled me into our office and like we had to talk about it, you know. And she really just touched base with me, and then like I wasn't late anymore.
Through Emily's leadership, we also make those contacts in person, and she's making those calls to set up conferences to see, well, what is the issue as far as the students' attendance.
Like, it was just the environment. She felt like she cared a lot. So it helped me understand, like, okay, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to do. It's none of this middle school stuff anymore. It's serious. It's starting to be where I start my life, and it's who I'm going to come to be.
Besides the data, it's just that I have students now that are so proud of how they've changed and made these choices in their life.
I don't know what I would have done throughout my 3 years without knowing Miss Bonilla. She truly pushed us. She truly drives us to be our best.
I always say this to the students when I was in the classroom, was that in a film set, things go wrong all the time. All the time. And you have money and you have producers and you have people saying, okay, what are you gonna do? You can't just sit there and say, it's not my problem. You have to figure out solutions and you have to figure out creative problem solving. So I think that was always a touchstone to my class, is creative problem solving as a team. So I'm their teacher, but if they can't all do this by themselves, then they're not going to be successful. I think the thing is that what really builds climate culture is listening and making teachers and staff and students feel supported.
Congratulations, Ms. Bonilla.
Thank you, everybody. I'm Ms. Bonilla. I'm really very humbled by this award. As you can see in this video, that I wasn't planning on being in education. I was working in film production. But sometimes the right job comes along, it completely changes your trajectory. You cannot be a visionary without the support of a team. And I am so lucky to work at Essex County Schools of Technology, a district that really supports me and provides me with a framework for growth and innovation. I would like to first thank our superintendent, Dr. James Peterson, and Assistant Superintendent Dixiana Carbonell. They really truly believed in me from the start and gave me this opportunity to be a building administrator. And also all the district administrators who've been a support system, especially very much during these challenging times. I would like to thank my building principal, Mr. Eric Love, who's been my principal since I started teaching and now is a vice principal. I'm very lucky to learn from a leader who really loves our students and puts their needs first. He's really taught me the importance of laughter, patience, and really supported me when I still need to be creative and have a constant quest to build projects and a stronger school and community and culture. I want to say thank you to Mr. Ponce. He's my assistant co-principal. We make a great team. We have new adventures every day, new tests and trials, and I'm so proud to have you by my side. Most importantly, I am so grateful for our teachers and staff. Our building has only been open for 4 years, and they've been really the driving force to build our new school and family. And really, they go the extra mile during this pandemic. From building CTE partnerships, teaching after school college classes, late night parent Zoom meetings, to becoming teacher leaders and driving new curriculum and projects. I just really thank you so much. And really, it's our students that really have changed what my idea is to be a visionary assistant principal. It's through my daily talks with them, interactions, the after school hangs with the student body that have shaped what it means to lead with empathy and honesty. And last importantly, thank you to my family. My parents instilled in me the importance of exploring and trying new things, but always rooted in personal education and growth. And my husband, who's my rock, he grounds me and he makes me smile every day. Thank you so much.
The 2021 Visionary Supervisor Director of the Year is Kelly Harmon. Upon taking on her role as Director of Curriculum and Instruction for the Monmouth County Vocational School District, Kelly Harmon set out to improve this already high-performing district by focusing on curriculum and common language.
I also noticed that every building was doing their own thing. When I would go into a classroom, I noticed, some teachers, they had unit plans. Other teachers in another building had weekly plans. Some teachers had assessments, others had activities. Everyone was doing their own thing. And there wasn't a common language, there wasn't a common format. I noticed some courses didn't even have a curriculum document.
So talking with her about it, and she was like, well, why don't we do a UBD Academy? And with that academy, we will work with every teacher in the district and train them how to use UBD.
So the goal was to create a curriculum initiative. And we said it would probably take about 3 years. So in 2018, we sat down and we built a curriculum training team. And we sat down and we talked about how are we going to train teachers on the Understanding by Design framework.
Having a live document where teachers collaborate at one space in curriculum, it encourages talking. And whenever you have teachers together talking, better things happen.
Just speaking the common language of understanding by design and allowing that to drive our assessment and instructional techniques has really been helpful in sharing best practices. It's been sharing student outcomes. It's been helpful in developing a further sense of professionalism and collegiality in our staff.
You know, we're a vocational and technical public school district, so we wanted teachers to be focusing on skills, not so much on the content. What are your students learning today rather than what are you doing today, you know? So we're changing the language so that we're really focused on planning with a purpose, thinking like an assessor rather than an activity designer, and focusing on the prioritizing the skills that the students need when they go out into the workforce.
In addition to building curriculum, Kelly also set out to build morale throughout the district and went to social media to let the staff know how appreciated they are.
Happy Friday, everyone. It is Miss Harmon here with the Feel Good Friday shout out. And this shout out is going out to 2 CTE instructors. I am here to shout out Miss Deirdre Callahan, who is our commercial art instructor. And this shout out is going out to Miss Teresa Garvey, who is our school nurse at several of our share time programs. I am here to shout out all of our supplemental teachers over at the Career Center.
I had a lot of teachers say to me, you don't realize the impact that you make. And they told me we wish you could have been there to hear what everyone was saying about you because you are so loved and you don't realize it.
There's things that a boss or a leader does, and there's that extra level. The fact that she'll drop off presents at people's doors. She does like Friday shout outs where she does little videos acknowledging teachers. Those are the things, like, she didn't have to do that.
She wants us to make us one community. She wants us all to work together, whether we're in 14 different buildings or whether we're all in one building. You know, we're one district as a whole.
Kelly has allowed me to see how a district as diverse as Monmouth County Vocational runs and functions, because a building level administrator is one thing, but then to see an entire vocational school district be so well run, and Kelly contributes to that so greatly, has been very insightful.
Kelly has an infectious enthusiasm, and she has a real commitment to engaging and empowering the other professionals around her.
I can talk about Kelly all day long. She's wonderful. Has nonstop energy. You know, she's morning, noon, and night, you know. So there's no one else I would like to have by my side when it comes to working in a district like this.
If anybody was to say to me, you know, how do you rate her? She's a 10. She's that good. She's that good. And still learning and growing and going to be phenomenal in her as her career continues to progress.
She's the most tenacious, tirelessly effervescent person that I've ever encountered. And if she is not the idea of a visionary educator and an educational leader, I truly don't know who is.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say thank you to ASCD and to also NJPSA for this amazing award. I'm going to keep it short because I get very emotional. So I just want to thank my superintendent and assistant superintendent of Monmouth County Vocational School District. Without the resources, without the support, without them listening to my crazy ideas, I couldn't be a visionary. And without my curriculum coaches and my staff, who are truly the wind beneath my wings, they really, truly do help me soar. So thank you for this amazing award, and I look forward to the great things to come for career and technical education and for New Jersey. Thank you so much.
The 2021 Visionary Principal of the Year Elementary Level and New Jersey recipient of the NAESP National Distinguished Principal Award is Annie Corley-Hand. Annie Corley-Hand is the principal of Mary K. McMillan Early Childhood Center in Berkeley Heights, where she looks for innovative ways for her students to create and learn.
A couple of years ago, we added, through a PTO grant, I had a big STEM initiative, and we bought Dash and Dot robots for the classrooms, and we bought all these STEAM materials, and we created maker spaces in our classrooms. And when left to their own devices, kids are pretty amazing at creating things. I had done a lot of work, watched a lot of videos and webinars and on STEM, and just thinking, this is a great thing that can tap into our science program.
So we had the iPads and the robots, and they were coding the robots to move, and it was, you know, problem solving, but math, and then we tied it into writing, and they wrote how-to books on how to move the robot.
One of the science lessons was create, on sound and vibration. So kids were creating instruments. They had all these materials in their maker spaces in their classrooms. So they had to create an instrument that made, this is just an example of one of these activities, that created two different sounds.
Students are not sitting at their desks. They're young children. They need to move around. She has really instituted a program where the children are up and they're moving and they're going from station to station, and they're supported when they need to be supported, and they're independent when it benefits them to be independent.
We want kids to be problem solvers. And I think too often we just have kids solving problems, on a piece of paper that's in front of them, rather than having them to work through the problem solving piece.
In addition to the academic needs of her students, Annie knows the importance of meeting their social emotional needs as well.
Right now, the social emotional needs of both kids and teachers are really paramount. And, it's almost everything else is secondary. I mean, we go back to Maslow, it's very basic. If we're not meeting those emotional needs, none of us can move forward. So I think that is really our focus, or my focus for this school year, is really on the needs of teachers and students.
I think that Annie sets the tone and the standard for how staff interact with children, parents interact with children, and how children interact with each other.
The school is really about embracing developmentally appropriate practice for kids. We have worked really hard at reminding ourselves that, yes, people have higher expectations, Common Core standards have higher expectations for kids, but a 5-year-old is still a 5-year-old, and a 6-year-old is still a 6-year-old, and we have to treat them as such. So we work really hard at providing a program that is, yes, academically rigorous, but also mindful of the way kids learn best.
She doesn't just push for us to move them forward academically. It's like all about social emotional, behavioral needs as well. And she makes that very obvious in the culture of our school.
One of the ways she addressed the climate in her school was bringing in her Labradoodle Timber as the school's comfort dog.
I did have some reservations when Mrs. Corley had this idea that we were going to bring a dog into the school with our students, and I couldn't have been more wrong.
She's great with the kids. She'll sit on the floor in the morning during arrival and let the kids come and pet the dog, and she'll just hang out and talk to them.
I learned so much about them, just this morning. Whose dog went missing, somebody's frog died, a mom's sick, a grandmother's really ill. You learn all this stuff because I'm sitting there with the dog, having conversations with kids. He is literally top dog. You walk around and you can ask kids what my job is, and probably 75% of them will tell you it's to take care of the school dog.
The things that I've witnessed, with the dog working with students and just welcoming students even this morning creates that positive culture.
The feedback from parents is so positive. I mean, I had a little girl cried every day. And I just remember the dad saying, go see the puppy, just to get them in the door. And so that's really where he's been really helpful too.
And it's not just Timber the kids love, it's Mrs. Corley.
They adore her. She really is, she's not just an instructional leader, but she has a real maternal way with all of the children in this building, and I think every one of them knows that she really cares about them.
She's a very caring person, and she really looks out for her staff and students as well.
I just think she is such a professional, polished, passionate educator who is tireless in her work to make this school as good as it can be.
Thank you, everyone. I'm so honored to be here today and truly grateful to be the recipient of these awards. I had the distinct pleasure of attending the National Distinguished Principals Honor last week in Washington, D.C., and it was truly an unforgettable experience. I'm especially grateful to a few people whose support is the reason I'm here right now. While I was exploring educational leadership programs many years ago, A colleague came back from her program interview at the College of St. Elizabeth and informed me that I had been assigned to her cohort. Well, despite not having made my own choice or decision yet, Jerry Schaller, my former superintendent, had apparently made it for me. I never looked back. Judy Ratner, when Judy hired me in Berkeley Heights, I couldn't believe my good fortune. As an early childhood educator, nailing a preschool through grade 1 principalship was absolutely a dream come true. So while I'm proud of many initiatives I've had the freedom to implement under Judy's tenure, the addition of Timber, our school dog, is probably the most popular, and quite frankly, the only one that MKM students care about. So just a little story about how Timber did come to be. After attending a workshop on the benefits of therapy dogs in schools at an NJPSA fall conference many years ago, I approached Judy and I said, I've done some research. I'm going to adopt a dog and bring it to school. Her response, Annie, I'm not going to ask the Board of Education to approve you bringing your dog to school. So fast forward 2 years, I'm tenured. I have a few successful endeavors under my belt and I tried again. Perhaps I had just worn her out, but a few months later, Timber, the Australian Labradoodle at just 8 weeks old, became part of our school community. Tiered system of supports, data teams, win period, monthly precepts, community celebrations, makerspace will not be my legacy. It will most certainly be the dog. To Mary Reese and Jeff Graber at NJPSA and my fellow early childhood leadership team who have provided me with so very many opportunities to grow and learn as an educator, I will be forever grateful. Michelle Gardner, my partner in crime back in Berkeley Heights, and Scott McKinney, now assistant superintendent, but as a high school principal, my first friend and colleague who supported me through those first years as a principal. The Berkeley Heights administrative team and the MKM staff who have supported me both professionally and personally through some of life's most challenging times. Lastly, my final thanks to my husband, Paul, our children, Emma, a special education teacher, and Ben, an education undergraduate. They are the most tolerant people on earth. My mom, my lifelong cheerleader, and of course to Timber, who everyone knows is top dog. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity, and I look forward to more good work. Thank you.
The 2021 Visionary Principal of the Year secondary level and New Jersey recipient of the NASSP Principal of the Year Award is Dr. Kwame Morton. Kwame Morton is the principal of Cherry Hill High School West. As a father of 10 children, he knows the importance of being there for each and every student.
We place our children every day in the hands of people that we hope that are partners for us and not strangers to us. As such, it's critically important that our kids are loved. So No Child Left Invisible specifically, I've defined it as such. It means that we will help our children to achieve success as evidenced by the fact that they'll attain an A or a B in every class, or we will provide our kids with multiple opportunities to access that level of success.
Just to know that a child is welcomed, is valued, and has a voice at High School West allows them to not be invisible and makes them extremely important to all of us in all of our work.
We have a district-wide initiative, Student Voice. This idea that our students and our children have voice in our building. And voice means not just that we hear audible sounds coming from them, but that we listen to them, we engage, and we work with them closely, and that when they bring things to us, we act on them.
A small group, I believe it was about 4 or 5 of us, went to another teacher and we worked with a few of her other students to create a website full of resources about mental health as a whole, stress relief, nutrition. We had some yoga tips on there too. So we were able to create that and then send it to all the teachers who could then share it with their classes.
A champion of communication, Kwame Morton built a powerful partnership with the Cherry Hill Police Department to open doors and foster positive relationships.
Several years ago, it occurred to me that many of the problems that were being faced in our country and much of the rhetoric that existed, I thought was harmful and counterproductive. So you think about this idea that police and people of color just have this natural disdain for one another. I know it not to be true. So we intentionally tried to do things to include our local law enforcement into the fabric of the school.
Kwame has nurtured and established a relationship with the chief of police that has paid incredible dividends, that's had the chief, his ranking officers, the men and women who are out on patrol on the streets come here and work out with the students, run with them as a cross-country team, run with them with the track team. And I've heard great stories from the students and from the police, about the challenges and what that meant to do it. But these kids have gotten a chance to know who the police are.
Just to have that camaraderie and that friendship and that comfortability that I feel like our kids can be approached by a Cherry Hill police officer and can approach a Cherry Hill police officer, whether they're here in the building or in the community.
We had several protests last summer after the incident in Minneapolis with George Floyd. I was out on Route 70, observing everything, and a group of people were walking towards me, and I'm looking at them, and they're looking at me, and I recognize the faces, not necessarily the names. And, I see them smiling, and I'm looking at like Cherry Hill West, and I'm like, basketball team. And they're like, yes, So, in that type of high stress situation, the relationships that were built during the programs that we have in place with the school help to de-escalate a potentially volatile situation.
I think many of the problems that we face in this country are from a lack of understanding. It's from ignorance. We just don't know about each other. We don't know enough about one another. And I think if we take the time to engage and form relationship with even the most unlikely people, that what we'll find is that we have cultural connections that are much deeper than surface level things.
And part of that is because students have questions, especially in the last year. They have questions they want to ask. There are real concerns. There's trauma that our children have experienced because of what's going on in the world. The opportunity for them to ask the police and to ask the chief those questions very directly in the presence of Dr. Morton, who provides that guidance and that support and that calm, has been absolutely phenomenal.
The students, police, and Dr. Morton have also collaborated on a restorative justice program that led to Cherry Hill West becoming a national school of character.
Dr. Morton wanted to come up with this restorative practice program where we hired private contractors. So we hired a yoga teacher and we hired a CrossFit instructor. And in lieu of a normal detention, the student could be assigned to the restorative practice.
What we figured out is that detention doesn't really help any kids when they get it because they just go there or they'll try to skip it and it's not doing anything to benefit them. So for next year and the years after, we're adding more internships to the school so you can do other things like be an intern for somebody in social media work or people who work on cars so you can have actual real life experiences and that's something you can learn from instead of detention.
It's extremely satisfying. I'm so proud of the relationship that I have with Dr. Morton. If it wasn't for him, none of this would happen.
I wake up every morning excited and optimistic and enthusiastic about coming here and having an opportunity to interact with my students and with my faculty and with my parents. Even the hard days are great days. It's an absolute pleasure. So thank you. Congratulations to today's recipients, and thank you, NJPSA, for this honor. I'm extremely grateful, appreciative, and deeply humbled, as I know there's so many great principals across the state of New Jersey who are also equally deserving. Cherry Hill High School West is a dynamic community comprised of wonderful children, dedicated parents, and staff members who regularly go above and beyond the call of duty in the interest of doing what's best for children. I consider this award to be a shared award and an accurate reflection of the truly outstanding community that is High School West. I would like to thank Allison Staffen, assistant principal at High School West, for nominating me for the award. Quite truthfully, when I read Allison's nomination letter, it brought tears to my eyes. Her words touched me deeply. I would also like to thank Dr. Joseph Malash, our superintendent of schools, for supporting the nomination and also for being a mentor and one who has provided tremendous guidance for me and support as well. I would like to say thank you to my children, Cassandra, Kwame Jr., Caleb, Kamel, Glory, Camille, Gabriel, Abraham, Corey, and Colin for their unconditional love and helping me to gain great perspective on how to best work with and interact with children. I would also like to thank my wife, April, who is an outstanding mother, but is also an even better friend and partner. Finally, I'd like to thank my parents, Anthony and Sandra Morton, for their guidance, support, and unconditional love. My mother was an extremely popular and well-respected teacher in our community in Brooklyn, New York, where I grew up. She aspired to become an administrator, but unfortunately, her professional career didn't allow her to actualize that dream. However, it is through her guidance and her example that allows me to stand here today. My educational philosophy, one that's rooted in relationship, compassion, and empathy, was nurtured by my mother. So I'll conclude by thanking NJPSA once again for this wonderful honor, but I also thank you for sending me 2 plaques. One of those plaques will be hung right here in my office, but the other I plan to present to my mother. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And congratulations to all of our winners, Emily, Kelly, Annie, and Kwame. We are all so proud of you and so appreciative of the work that you do. Our final award winner is, we're going to get to in just one second. I did want to just let you know that we did hear from Dr. Rogo, who I know you're all going to be stunned to know that something came up in school, because in these jobs, you can't even go to the bathroom without being interrupted. So we miss Dr. Rogo, wish her the best with getting that resolved, and look forward to having her join us again a little bit later on. On her behalf, though, it is my honor to introduce our final award winner, who will be receiving the NJASCD Dr. Ernest L. Boyer Award. And here to talk more about this award and its very deserving 2021 recipient is the president of NJASCD and our good friend, Natalie Franzi Dougherty. Natalie.
Good morning, and thank you, Karen, NJPSA, and FEA for your continued partnership with NJASCD. I'm Natalie Franzi Dougherty, the president of NJASCD, and I'm excited to present the Dr. Ernest L. Boyer Outstanding Educator Award on behalf of our executive board. Dr. Ernest L. Boyer had a remarkable career that spanned 4 decades as one of the most articulate and well-reasoned voices in the history of American education. He was highly regarded as an instructor, director, educator, and most influentially, a gifted leader whose impact on education has been formidable and lasting. As United States Commissioner of Education, President of the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, and Chancellor of the State University of New York, Dr. Boyer's profound influence shaped and reformed national and international understanding of education. His connection to New Jersey and NJASCD was a close one, as he resided in our state and was a keynote speaker at the NJASCD annual conference in the early 90s. As the voice of education, Dr. Boyer is profoundly missed. In 1996, NJASCD dedicated its most prestigious annual Outstanding Educator Award to the memory of Dr. Ernest L. Boyer. The award, known as the Dr. Ernest L. Boyer Outstanding Educator Award, is presented by NJASCD to an educator who has made a major contribution to the field of education and who exemplified the vision, leadership, and a commitment to the improvement of education that characterized the career of Dr. Boyer. The award bearing his name serves to recognize and honor Dr. Boyer's accomplishments, inspire the recipients to embrace the qualities and characteristics required to advance our profession, and encourage other educators to aspire to make a difference in education to shape the youth for a better future. This year's Boyer Award recipient is Dr. Mary Reese. Mary is no stranger to many of us through her role as Director of Special Projects for NJPSA and leads groups like the ELL Supervisors, Early Childhood Advisory, and grant work on integration of arts and trauma-informed education. In her early days at NJPSA, Mary helped to start the NJ Excel program. While most of us are familiar with her post-education career, her public education career, Mary is truly a trailblazer. She spent 25 years in Edison, where she crashed through the glass ceiling and becoming the first female administrator in J.P. Stevens history. While speaking to her last week, Mary shared that at the board meeting she was appointed at, a member from the community got up and said, "Why did you hire this girl? There were qualified men."
Thinking about that statement is confounding, but Mary shared, I was there for a reason to make life better for our teachers and students, and that's exactly what she did. Mary was then appointed principal of Menlo Park Elementary School, where she started an inclusion program. She led the way to bringing out-of-district students with special needs into Edison Public Schools. Now, let's take a second to put this into context. This was happening in the early 90s. While it seems like common practice today, this was unheard of. We have Mary to thank for leading our schools to be more inclusive, not only for our students with special needs, but for also our emerging bilinguals. Mary led the groundwork for all of our schools to be inclusive by providing support for all students to be successful. Mary is a bridge builder, a connector. From hearing her speak with a twinkle in her eye about her lasting relationships with students she has impacted, or now working with a new generation of leaders, Mary believes it is her responsibility to work with a different generation. She really wants our education system to grow and expand. While we know Mary always to be humble, I'm going to take the opportunity to use the chat box over here. We know that Mary has touched us in different ways and impacted us. So I'm asking you right now to compose a message of thanks or appreciation to Mary. And I'm going to ask you on the count of 3 to press enter. So I'm going to give you some wait time. So please share a message of how Mary has impacted you or the work that you've been able or collaboration. So on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Can you press enter? While the chat box continues to scroll, we know that we are just a small sampling of the lives that Mary has touched. We thank you, Mary, for the humble trailblazer that you are. On behalf of the NJASCD Executive Board, I am proud to present Dr. Mary Reese with the Dr. Ernest L. Boyer Outstanding Educator Award. Congratulations, Mary.
The 2021 NJASCD Dr. Ernest L. Boyer Outstanding Educator Award winner is Dr. Mary Reese. Following her distinguished career in Irvington Township Public Schools, the New Jersey Department of Education, and Edison Township Public Schools, where she served as a supervisor, assistant principal, and was among the first members of NJPSA, Mary Reese joined the staff at FEA, first as a developer of NJXL and Associate Director of School Leadership Programs, and now as Director of Special Projects. In this role, she identifies educational, social-emotional, arts-integrated, and leadership issues, and works to secure grants with government sources and nonprofit foundations to address these critical needs. For FEA, Mary Reese is the grant guru.
I've had the opportunity to work with executive directors, presidents, and CEOs from a whole host of foundations. The Sands Foundation, the Nicholson Foundation, the Burke Foundation, the Princeton Area Community Foundation, most recently the New Jersey Pandemic Relief Fund, the Taub Foundation. And a lot of that comes from the work. The work speaks for itself. So other funders will see what's happening and they'll say, well, why don't you go talk to FEA because, you know, they do quality work and they're able to move forward with initiatives. It was during a council meeting toward the end of September. I was sitting in the back of our conference room and lo and behold, there was the letter. We got the award. So I remember walking up around the front to show Pat, you know, and tell her, and then she announced it to everybody. So that's how we found out about the award.
That was a great announcement. We found out in the middle of the council meeting that we'd received the $5 million 5-year school leadership program grant through the U.S. Department of Education, and that was Mary's baby. She had worked so diligently on that grant application and gave us an opportunity to build relationships and support the 3 school districts involved in the grant, high needs districts of Millville, Bridgeton, and Trenton.
Mary has an undying commitment to leadership, developing leadership, and in areas where we necessarily didn't think we would fit in this program, Mary was able to show us how we could fit in the program, and not just fit in the program, but thrive in that portion of the grant. We also had a number of our administrators go through the NJPSA program, and we still have some going through the NJPSA program, but yes, they are now in either leadership positions in our district or in other districts.
But what I do with all of these projects is I include a team approach. So we ask for central office people, principal, if there's a supervisor, and teachers to be involved in the team. And coaching is a must. So not only do we train teams in whatever the content might be, but we make sure that there are trained coaches who work with the teams to make sure the projects are implemented appropriately.
I'm not quite sure what I was hoping to get out of the grant, but I can assure you we got way more than I ever imagined that we would be able to get out of the grant. We had an opportunity to train administrators and teachers in leadership, not just leadership for traditional leadership, but also teacher leadership practices.
Last year, it was the Burke Foundation and the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation that came and said, would you please put together a blueprint for looking at ACEs and trauma?
Healing-centered engagement. My goodness, that is so needed because what we're talking about is traumatization. Unfortunately, children bring that to school. We, as educators, have to be able to recognize it and address it. What better way to address trauma than to train administrators, train leaders to look for signs for trauma so that you can help that child?
She began to formulate a vision that focused on the healing-centered part of it rather than the adverse childhood experiences. And so that became the central focus, this healing-centered engagement.
We didn't want to address it from a negative perspective, and we rather do it from a healing-centered engagement perspective. It talks about, rather than what's wrong with you, like, how can we provide an environment where you will thrive regardless of your past?
And they came to us asking if we would deliver a program throughout the state with coaches and what they call trusted messengers with their expertise to help us deliver assistance in mental health. It was so successful that, and this is Mary again, it was so successful that they are repeating it this year.
Mary's passion for the arts has always been well known, and so she's been involved in grants and working with districts in arts integration, which has been an incredible program over the years.
A student would not be well-rounded without the arts in his or her life, and I strongly believe this. I'm not an artist by training. I'm a lover of the arts. I'm a consumer of the arts. And I was very glad when our former executive director asked me to serve on the new steering committee of Arts Ed New Jersey. And so we became a 501c3. I became board chair of Arts Ed New Jersey. And it's been an amazing ride.
I think having somebody like Mary who is so completely dedicated to giving students that opportunity and never letting the arts programs become second fiddle, no pun intended, to the other programming in school is critical. And she is just second to none at doing that.
I would not be where I am today without her mentoring, without her guidance.
Mary is the kind of person who wears her heart on her sleeve and is accessible to any and everybody.
Mary continued helping others and helping the children and helping parents no matter where she goes.
Mary, I know you don't do things for accolades. You are a consummate community builder and systems changer who instead thrives on taking bold ideas to fruition.
I enjoy her because of the type of person that she is and because we both share a commonality for quality education that is equitable for all children.
Selecting Dr. Reese for this year's Boyer Award gives well-deserved recognition to Mary's lifelong career devoted to public education and to New Jersey's children.
She can never leave. No matter what, she has to be here.
Mary's a wonderful person. She is funny and she's engaging. She's very personable. She understands that in working with colleagues, building these personal relationships is essential for us to work together. And she's a lovely, lovely woman.
I can't think of another person or a better person who should receive the award.
I really love my job. I love working with the people here at NJPSA and FEA. And I really, really, really appreciate the collaborations that I've developed over the years. And it enriches me. Having those kinds of relationships makes me a stronger, better person.
Congratulations to my fellow awardees. Let's hold on to this glow. It really is an exciting day. Approximately 25 years ago, I had the distinct opportunity, through my involvement with NAESP, to meet Hillary Rodham Clinton, who had just authored the book, It Takes a Village. Her message that it requires the role of society to make children smart, able, and resilient adults really resonated with me. I echo her story so many years later as I accept this amazing award. I have my own village. It is composed of my loving family and friends, wonderful mentors, college professors, and my colleagues. Early in my graduate work at Rutgers, a professor suggested to me that there are important steps to take to become a leader. Heady advice at age 25. The first step she recommended was to become involved in my professional association, which I did. As a teacher and subsequent supervisor, I became the president of my content area state association. And that led to future leadership roles within NJPSA and then on to the board of the National Association of Elementary School Principals. Throughout, I maintained my involvement with NJASCD. I have valued my camaraderie with this relevant and critical association, most recently with our new leadership, President Natalie Frenzy Doherty, and Executive Director Ann Nucci. My years spent with retired Executive Director Maria Dare have fulfilled and enriched me. Our ventures into the high school redesign initiative and Common Core standards reform are memorable. And I also recall fondly my endeavors with Rich Flame, Marie's predecessor, particularly offering our annual Holocaust conferences. I thank all of you in my village for this prestigious award. May everyone have a similar village experience. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, Mary. And I'm going to ask just very quickly, everyone, put your cameras on. The one thing that we don't get to do when we do things virtually is actually share in a standing ovation. So if you would, cameras on, jazz hands all around. Congratulations to all of our Visionary Award winners and to just the work that you've done to truly change education in New Jersey and to impact not only the children, but the adults that you've been, who've been fortunate enough to work with you as well. So congratulations to one and all. I'd now like to move to the final item on today's agenda. Let me first welcome anyone who has just joined us on our Zoom session. We do know people have been in and out. We're delighted to have you with us. And I'm now happy to introduce NJPSA's Vice President, Tom Macagnano. Tom.
Karen.
Yes.
It's Carol. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just wanted you to know that Tom is dealing with an urgent emergent matter in Jersey City.
That seems to be happening.
He's not on the phone.
No worries at all. In that case, then, President Vanella, may I kick over to you to take care of Tom's part?
Sure. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Mike.
No problem. And congratulations to all of our Visionary Award winners. Before drawing our next set of prizes, I'd like to take a moment to ask everyone to consider making a donation of $40 or more to the NJPSA PAC. Your contribution at the critical time will help our amazing government relations team maintain the access they need to advocate for the issues that matter to you. As legislation is first introduced and as it makes its way through the process in Trenton, our team can help amend bills, change language, or support passage as it best affects you in your schools. The information on how you can donate is in the chat, so please consider helping us to help you. It is now time to draw 3 more prizes. Again, with the assistance of the communications team, we will draw from among those of you who are on the Zoom to win a $100 gift card, a wireless charger, and an Apple TV. Remember to stay with us for the conclusion of the fall conference, as at the end, we will be drawing for a MacBook Air. So with that being said, first, let's start. The winner of the $100 Visa gift card is?
Winner of the $100 Visa gift card is Heather Warizniak.
Congratulations, Heather. The winner of the wireless charger is?
Wireless charger goes to Thomas Callanan.
Congratulations, Thomas. And last but not least, the winner of the Apple TV is?
The winner is Larry Mandelowitz.
Congratulations, Larry. And congratulations to all our award winners, and thanks for being on the conference today. Once again, we would like to thank our sponsors for making this free event possible. Here to introduce our final speaker of the day is Lori Metz, Senior Account Manager from our sponsor, Grapeseed. Lori?
Thank you, Mike. And thank you to everyone at NJPSA for allowing us to be part of your fall conference. We're truly honored to be here. I've been in a bit of awe listening to everything that you've all been saying and what you've been able to accomplish, even in this crazy time we're in, and it's truly remarkable. I love the theme of this conference, Reimagine. At Grapeseed, we actually hear and use this word a lot because that's exactly what we do and what the Grapeseed curriculum does. It helps English language learners all over the world to reimagine what their lives could be if only they could speak English effectively. Something we all take for granted is what others only dream of. Without it, students simply cannot be successful. Grapeseed gives young ESL students the foundation and confidence needed to learn effectively and to feel that they're truly part of their classroom, their school, and their community. Our WIDA-aligned, innovative English oral language curriculum is used all over the world in 17 countries with over 75,000 students. In the United States, and specifically right here in New Jersey, we're helping young ESL students and newcomers become effective readers, writers, and communicators. With Grapeseed, students learn English following the natural language approach. It's a teacher-led curriculum, and it's highly engaging and really fun, which is so important right now. Grapeseed teachers feel confident they're giving their students the best instruction possible. They no longer have to search the internet and hope that what they're doing with their students is good enough. They know with Grapeseed, they have all the materials and resources needed to be successful. And administrators like you also feel confident because your teachers or parapros or whoever it is that's working with your ESL students, you know that they're getting the training and support needed for them and their students to be successful. If you'd like to learn more about Grapeseed, please let me know. I'll put my contact information in the chat box. I'd love to tell you about our program and how it can help your teachers and students specifically. Thank you again for allowing us to partner with you. I hope the rest of your school year is successful and as uneventful as possible. It is now my distinct honor to introduce the Reverend Dr. DeForest B. Soaries Jr. If you have any questions for Reverend Soaries, please post them in the chat. Karen Bingert will monitor the chat and ask for questions following the address. Reverend Soaries, well known as Buster, has served as the senior pastor of First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey since November 1990. His pastoral ministry focuses on spiritual growth, educational excellence, and economic empowerment. As a pioneer of faith-based community development, Dr. Story's impact on First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens and the community has been tremendous. In 1992, he founded the Central Jersey Community Development Corporation. In 1996, he founded the Harvest of Hope Family Services Network. From 1999 to 2002, Dr. Story served as New Jersey's Secretary of State, making him the first African-American male to do so. He also served as the former chairman of the United States Election Assistance Commission, which was established by Congress to implement the Help America Vote Act of 2002. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Reverend DeForest Soares.
Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this great conference. I'm grateful to Donna for working through all of the bureaucracy in my office and making sure I got here, and I got here at the right time. Listen, I'm so impressed already to have so many outstanding speakers, to have seen all of these Vision Awards, and to have so many participants in October of 2021. I don't know about you, but I am zoomed out between Zoom, FaceTime, Facebook Live, YouTube. I am absolutely zoomed out. And to think that this high number of principals and supervisors would take time on a Friday to sit yet again in front of a computer device or cell phone or laptop, I'm just in awe. I'm in awe of you, and it just brings back memories of my dad. My dad was an assistant principal at Ramapo Regional High School in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey. If anyone's here from Franklin Lakes, hello, in the name of my dad, DeForest Soares Sr. And in that sense, I have a weak spot. I have an admiration. I have a weak spot. I feel like I'm family with principals and supervisors because my dad ran our house the way he ran the high school. Our dinner table had the same meal every week on a given night, just like the high school cafeteria. We had hot dogs on Monday night, we had spaghetti on Tuesday night. And so I kind of grew up in a high school long before I went to high school. But beyond my dad being an assistant principal and administrator who took care of the school, he died in 1975, long before the kinds of challenges that he could never imagine his peers today, those of you who gather in this great meeting, have had to endure. Long before COVID, we had the evolution of our culture such that schools were having to embrace the reality that they were being asked to teach with blackboards and whiteboards and instructional designs that did not consider students who had grown up on iPads and on iPhones and on FaceTime. I had a 3-year-old ask me a few months ago for my password. Her family was visiting my house. She didn't have her favorite device. And so she figured she would take my cell phone and watch her videos, but she needed my password. When 3-year-olds are asking adults for passwords, we're living in a new day, a day that we never imagined. We've experienced now the evolution of our culture and our society such that both family structures and family pressures and family realities have resulted in families literally sending their children to school, expecting the schools to raise their children. I tell the parents in my congregation all the time, schools were not built to raise your children. Schools are designed to instruct children in language arts and mathematics and science. And I think most of us, if not all of us, are old enough to remember the days when we learned certain things at home. We learned manners at home. We learned decorum at home. We learned the basics of hygiene at home. But today the family structure is such that many families, either due to decisions they made or circumstances that they find themselves in, really require the schools to be more like traditional families than schools have ever been. We also have this interesting dynamic of resources. You know, I watch the proceedings of government frequently. Whenever you've been in government, even when you get out of government, there's still a little government left in you. So I watch both state and federal government proceedings. I watch the Congress, I watch the legislature. It's always interesting to me that every political leader in America is for education, everyone. In fact, private sector leaders are for education. If we took a poll, almost every American, I think, would answer questions positively about support for education and thus support for educators and thus support for you. But the reality is quite different when we look at the way our society is structured. If you assume that where your budget goes or where your finances go, that's where your values are. What one could argue successfully that we value Major League Baseball more than we value education. We value professional basketball more than we value teachers. And when I do speak to teachers, I try to encourage them, despite the fact that one key basketball player will make more money in 1 year than a teacher makes in their whole career. So it's frustrating, it's challenging. I looked just the other day at Major League Baseball. I'm not really a baseball fan, even though I played baseball in high school. Yogi Berra came to our games. He lived in Montclair, we lived in Montclair, we played with his kids. So I know a little bit about baseball. And when I looked up the stats for the existing baseball industry, Major League Baseball today has as its best hitter a young man who plays for the Los Angeles Angels, and his batting average is 327. Maybe it's 328. 327. That means that 32.7% of the time he gets a hit. It also means that 67.2 or 3% of the time he does not make it. He fails. And the interesting thing is you can be a superstar baseball player and fail 60 to 70% of the time. Try being a principal and failing 60 to 70% of the time. Try being a school district that doesn't graduate 60 to 70% of your seniors. Try being a teacher whose students fail tests 60 to 70% of the time. Try giving standardized tests and have your student population fail 60 to 70% of the time. You know, it's so interesting that in one sector, we literally reward people for failure. But in the sector that we say we care about, we literally punish people even when the challenges are far beyond their control. And I say all of that simply to say, I empathize with you. And it's meetings like these that are critical to your professional career, but also to your personal pursuits. Because if we don't have support systems, if we don't have confidence in what we do, if we really don't believe in the calling that all of us have in this industry, in the nonprofit sector, the educational sector, in the religious sector, then our nation's foundation will be much more fragile than we can handle as a society. So I just want to encourage you. I want to thank you for what you do. In memory of my dad, I want to commend you for hanging in there despite all of the complexities. And the complexities were all compounded by something called COVID. I experienced a month-long bout with COVID-19 in August of this year after being vaccinated, wearing my mask, only leaving home one time in about 15 months. And that one trip caused me to be infected. And I know personally the challenges that I still have after having been sick for a month. And I can't even imagine the stresses and the pressures that all of you have on a day-to-day basis, having to balance decisions, having to follow rules made by people who don't do what you do and don't know what you know. And so my prayers are with you, but I also would urge you to consider 2 or 3 things. First of all, as principals and supervisors, you're not just called to manage, but in times like these, with all of these challenges, reimagining assumes that someone is going to lead. And leadership is more than having a title. Leadership is more than having an office in the biggest room in the corner of the building. But leadership means that you can motivate and you can guide people to places they otherwise would not go. Leadership sometimes has to bring opposing views together into some synthesis. Leadership has to calm the nerves of people whose nervousness is justified. And leadership sometimes has to stand alone and make tough decisions. Leadership gets buy-in from the membership. Yesterday, I was a participant in the inauguration of the new president of Kane University. And I was thrilled to see that in that setting, the unions and the faculty and the administrators and the students and the Board of Trustees stood together, unified in support of the leader. Leadership can bring diverse groups together towards a common cause. And your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to not only be effective managers, but to be inspired leaders. And then I think what this conference reinforces is the idea that we are lifelong learners. We learn from each other. As pastor of First Baptist for 30 years, 8 months, 3 days and 2.5 hours, my greatest joy came from visiting other churches around the country, reading about best practices in other venues and bringing it back to First Baptist, adapting it to my environment, putting my name on it, giving credit 1 or 2 times for the source. But the fact is, this association is critical, not only when we need the support in defense of something we've done, but this kind of gathering, these kinds of resources are critical because we can become so busy doing what we do, managing the tasks in our hands, leading the people in our districts, that we don't have time to look up and borrow not only ideas, but suggestions from other districts. I'm fortunate to have been in Franklin Township, Somerset County for now over 30 years. And what I love about Franklin today is that not only has Franklin borrowed from a district in Maryland a program, but invited us to help them implement it, because I believe that the leadership in Franklin loves what they do. And that's my final suggestion. When you love yourself and love what you do, then you go wherever you have to go to find whatever you need to find to meet your greatest need. We had a shooting in Franklin Township some months ago, and the shooting was in the community, but the effects spilled over into the school. And when the superintendent and principal of the high school called me in, what we did was we went to Baltimore. We went to Baltimore to see a program that had been effective in mitigating school violence, improving school culture, and dealing with some tough kids in that school. And Superintendent Ravalli and I got together, we met with his leadership team, and we adapted a program that we had previously called Operation Great Expectations, that was aimed at at-risk middle school students. And we took the program in Baltimore called Positive Impact Movement, aimed at violence prevention and behavior modification. And we merged the two, and we now have a model in Franklin Township. And what's interesting is that it's run by young people. I call them undercover adults. The whole strategy is to get young people from the neighborhood who are still young enough to blend into the youth culture, but they're grown enough to understand the goals in terms of behavior and academic outcomes. And I asked them to join me today, and they're here today because I wanted them to see you and you to see them. And the fact is, the fact that you love what you do does not mean you have to do it by yourself. There are community resources. There are nonprofit resources. We have crafted a resource that we plan to share statewide now that we've done this in both in pandemic and hopefully post-pandemic in Franklin. And I mentioned that because loving what you do does not require doing it by yourself. There was in New York, I've heard, a bricklayer who was building based on his bricklayer skills, and a fellow wanted to know what that building was going to be. And the bricklayer said, well, listen, if you're asking me what I'm doing, I'm working until 5 o'clock, then I'm going home. And the questioner didn't know any more about the building than he knew before. So he asked the second bricklayer, you know, what are you doing? And the second bricklayer said, I'm working until Friday, then I'm going to party all weekend. And then the third bricklayer that was questioned, because the questioner didn't know any more about the building than he did at the beginning. He asked the third bricklayer, what are you doing? And the third bricklayer, an older guy, he said, listen, sir, I'm laying bricks to construct the greatest building to ever go up in New York City. Now, the questioner didn't know any more about the building, but he knew a lot about that bricklayer. And when we love what we do and we embrace help from partnerships, what we represent is the ethic, the value that we are building the best district, we are leading the best team, and we are teaching the best students that have ever come through our community. As I thought about the difficulties that you face now with COVID, whoever thought that we'd spend a year and a half, you know, kind of dressed up on the top and then undressed at the bottom. I went 15 months without putting on a pair of shoes. Whoever thought that being present in class would be determined by whether or not your name was on a Zoom projection? Whoever thought that all of us would be virtual? And whoever thought that we would have to make decisions, both personal and policy decisions about taking or not taking vaccine, and those decisions could be life and death decisions. Whoever thought that we would be where we are, having to figure out ways to help students catch up, whose families didn't get access to broadband internet until 4 or 5 months into the pandemic. Whoever thought we would be exactly where we are in 2021. There's no pedagogical model. There's no didactic theory. There's no educational credential that prepared us for this moment. But it's the character and the commitment and the passion that you possess that makes this business of education quite possible. And I was thinking about all of the obstacles and thinking about all of the temptations that many of you must have to put in your papers, put in your retirement and say, look, I'm out of here. I thought about my backyard. In my backyard, I have this cement patio. And we did a cement patio. It's stamped to look like bricks, but it's not bricks because the landscaper said, if you put bricks, you're going to get weeds and other kinds of things to grow up between the bricks. And who wants to be bothered with that? So he convinced us, put the patio, we have a device that'll stamp the patio, stamp the cement. It will look pretty, but it will be maintenance free. And I was sitting back there and was literally thinking about how difficult your jobs are and what I could possibly say that would be meaningful in light of all that you have to do. And literally, while I was sitting there thinking about that, I looked down and wouldn't you know it, I saw a little flower growing right through the cement. And I said, this can't be possible. My landscaper convinced me that this was maintenance free, and we put cement that was stamped to protect us from that very thing. And the more I looked at it, the more I began to admire that little flower, because when I thought about it, that flower had to go through some tremendously difficult challenges. It had to press its way, it had to persist, and that flower somehow was able to rise above that cement and make it through by paving and carving its own pathway. And so my message to you is this: it may be difficult, the challenges may be unprecedented. You may need help from the outside, which persons like myself are willing to provide. But at the end of the day, it will be your commitment to persist and rise above the barriers and go beyond the obstacles to produce the kinds of outcomes that you first got into education to produce. None of you thought you'd get wealthy in education. and none of you are getting wealthy. I mean, that's one promise that's been kept. But every one of you committed to the cause of education, to make an impact on other people's lives and other people's children. And I look forward to hearing more and watching as I move around the state, these little flowers that decide that neither COVID, nor budget cuts, nor bad policies, nor political confusion can be sufficient to stop you from rising like a flower through the cement. So God bless you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this fantastic meeting. And when you decide that you have a group of young people in your district that could use some extra help and some extra support, call Frank Grivalli at Franklin Township Public Schools and steal his idea. We'll come in and help you too. God bless you. Thank you, Donna, and to the rest of your team.
Thank you so much, Dr. Soares. We did have a couple of questions that came up in the chat. First off, I'll say we had just some shout outs in the chat. You made several people very happy with your mention of Ramapo. We all know that education is a very small field, especially in New Jersey. So we all feel connections to our roots. And so you made some Ramapoans very happy today.
Wonderful.
I also want another shout out from Dr. Robin Moore, who was our past president at NJPSA and the principal of Roland Rogers Elementary School. She commented in the chat, hello, Dr. Soares, you motivated me as a youth in 1983 during the Atlantic City and vicinity Youth Crusade. It's good to see that you're still motivating and inspiring people to achieve their goals for good of themselves and others, especially children and those in need. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Moore. Thank you. But you didn't have to include dates, did you? I mean, you didn't have to just put my birth certificate on full blast. But
I think you were about 14 at the time, if we're all remembering correctly.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Moore, for that. Let me tell you something. It's encouraging to me every time I hear someone say that I contributed in some small way to who they are today based on what we did back in the day. So thank you.
You were very impactful. Thank you.
I had no idea.
And that, I think, is actually the thing about education that we all appreciate and relish the most, that it's those lives that we touch that come back and find us 20 years, 30 years down the line, that make everybody realize that that one brief moment of contact with somebody was an inspirational moment that we may not even have realized on our end of it, but it was impactful on the other end. And those are the moments that we all treasure as educators. So there were a couple of questions posted. I think I'm just going to bring this down to sort of just asking maybe for your advice. Sure. You commented that, in terms of athletics, and, we celebrate people who are failing 60 to 70% of the time. And yet in education, we are looking for success 100% of the time. So what would you suggest that our educational leaders do to reclaim the narrative of the huge successes that we have and reinvigorate our profession, especially after such an incredibly difficult period of time in our careers?
Sure. I think about education the way I think about almost everything in life, and that is the only way you find solutions is by studying and documenting and celebrating success. We have a tendency to put so much of our research emphasis, so much of our resources into failure that we become experts on failure and we don't even understand success. I think school districts have to do as much to celebrate academic achievement as we do athletic achievement. I mean, my sons played on a state championship basketball team, and when they walked the halls of their school, they were like little celebrities. We need to make celebrities out of our young chemistry geniuses, and we need to do so. We have tools now we didn't have before. We've got social media. We've got other kinds of platforms, and I think districts can do a lot more in many instances, especially if some of our younger professionals, our younger teachers would use their platforms to promote these kinds of successes. Until our nation understands that celebrating victory and success is the only way to mitigate failure, then I think we're going to be in trouble. I think, you have a shooting at your school, the whole nation will know about you. But if you have a 96% graduation rate, you know, it's just data on somebody's desk. So I think that's what we've got to do. My young team, I call them undercover adults because they're college graduates, they're authentic adults, but they look like kids and they're in the culture. And I let them guide me, and they'll be guiding me even more as we attempt to infiltrate this disease, as it were, of focusing on the negative and ignoring the positive.
Well, actually, that does act as a perfect segue into the other question that was posed. You know, you commented early in your statements today that families are often expecting schools to raise their children. But now there's also a strong degree of pushback that schools should not be responsible for raising their children. How can leaders balance that divide and share the responsibility for both the ethical and character education of our students?
We do it by forming partnerships with the parents, because without a partnership, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. What we do with the students that we are assigned, our district actually assigns students to us. The first thing we do is contact the parents. Let us sit down and agree that your child could use extra help, and our mentors will spend at least an hour a week with them. Let's agree with that now. That way, if you're not supporting it, we're going to come back to you and hold you accountable. So I think we need stronger front-end consensus between districts and parents, because while parents have a right to hold districts accountable because we are supported by public funds, districts have the need to hold parents accountable, because without a buy-in from parents and a consensus between parents and districts, it will always be a guessing game as to who really is responsible for what.
I really appreciate your input today. I also appreciate the story about the flower growing from your patio. You know, there's an old line from Jurassic Park, the movie, about, you know, life finds a way. And I think the fact of the matter is that education finds a way, right, and that teachers, principals, you know, people in the community who are community minded and service leaders, service professionals always find a way. And we appreciate the work that they are doing. We appreciate your support today and for taking the time to come today and motivate us and acknowledge the work that our school leaders are doing. And we're just so appreciative of your support throughout the past year, throughout your service to our state, and in all the things that you do within your community. So thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I will turn this back over to Mike Vanilla.
Thanks, Karen. And Reverend Soares, thank you so much for that outstanding address. We truly appreciate you being with us today. And I know all the educational leaders in New Jersey will continue to rise through the barriers to meet the special needs of each one of our students. So thank you again. Before closing the program and announcing the final prize winner of our MacBook Air, we have one final student performance from the Cherry Hill High School West Student Singers. So please enjoy Unclouded Day.
Oh, they tell me of a home far beyond the skies. They tell me of a home far away. And they tell me of a home where the storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless days. Oh, the land of an unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where the storm clouds rise. beauty there. They tell me that my eyes shall behold in the city that is made of gold. Cloudless days, oh, the land of an unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless days, oh, the land of an unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day.
Wow, that was just simply outstanding. Thank you, and such talented students. And I'd like to thank all of today's student performers who added so much to our virtual conference, and to Kwame Morton and Emily Bonilla for coordinating these video productions with us so that we could share them with you. A great job by all of these talented students, and we thank them. Okay, it's that time of you were waiting for, that final prize of the MacBook Air. So at this time, we'd like to take the opportunity to share with you the winner of the MacBook Air is
Dr. Tiffany McBride.
Congratulations, Tiffany. The MacBook will be mailed to you. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our virtual conference for 2021. I'd really like to take this opportunity to thank Karen Bingert, Donna McInerney, Denise Heckberger, Christy Stohr, Rob Burek, and Mucci, Dan Higgins, and the entire planning committee and staff of NJPSA, FEA, and NJASCD for their incredible work throughout the past several months in planning this virtual conference. Join me in a round of applause for everybody that worked on that. And I'd also like to thank all of you for joining us today and being part of this great learning celebration. I know how busy it is in your schools, and we appreciate you being here. You know, listening to our award winners and seeing all of those on the Zoom today, it's no surprise why New Jersey has the top schools in our great nation. It's because we have the best educational leaders in the country, and we have the best professional organizations in NJPSA, FEA, and NJASCD. Thank each of you for your dedication to your students and staff through these challenging times. You are making a difference, and I thank you for that. Now, do not forget, we are planning to be back in person to celebrate our 40th anniversary at the Borgata in Atlantic City on March 24th and 25th, where we will enjoy keynote addresses from Zaretta Hammond and George Couros, a legislative component that would usually be conducted during the March Legislative Conference at NJPSA, as well as several professional learning workshops. You can still apply to present at these workshops at this conference, so please make sure you take some time to download that application from the website and email that form back in by November 15th. Again, I'd like to thank you for taking the time, your precious time today, and joining us. And I wish you a restful and wonderful weekend. Take care, everybody, and thanks for joining us.